Hey everyone,
Welcome back.
welcome back. This is our second to the last session of the Seed to Harvest Summit, and this is going to be good.
It is going to be good.
It's kind of fun putting this passion day at the end, just kind of wrap up the whole inspiration side of things. So today, for this session, very shortly, we're going to invite Nina and Liz on with us, and they're going to be delving into raising kids that love the garden. This is such a family-centered session, and family is so important to us as a company, obviously.
Yeah.
Father-son team. It's been, Dad, it's a huge honor to be able to work with you, do this with you.
Likewise.
And now with my kids, and I'm just looking forward to this session a lot because we think that the garden is such a perfect environment for kids. But
I've noticed a number of presenters have, either been inspired to go back to the garden because of kids, or once they got to the garden, that inspired them to have kids. There's a connection there somehow.
Yeah. And the homeschooling kids that are watching this, 7 here on YouTube, a huge shout out to you. We're excited. I know that you guys love Luke, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So just before we jump into that, though, we do have a quick little blurb for our sponsor for today, which is Azure Standard. We've been using Azure Standard for 20 plus years. Started out in Oregon. There was actually some time where we couldn't because they weren't shipping out as far as we were, but now they're across the nation. So literally you can get hooked up with Azure Standard to get bulk, natural, organic, healthy food that you can trust, shipped to a drop-off location near you, and get 15% off your first order with them at the link down below this video. I'm going to play a short video from them, and we'll be right back.
As has been said, a man who has his health has 100 goals. A man who does not have his health only has 1 goal. And I want to make the world a better place so that we have millions of people that have 100 positive goals. Can make our world a healthy place. We live in a world of abundance. We do not have to be living in scarcity if we take care of our resources correctly. By producing super nutrient-dense food, our bodies are full of minerals and healthy vitamins and enzymes and everything that it takes to have a good, healthy life. By living a healthy lifestyle, our communities become stronger, our families become stronger, and we have a more healthy culture.
So if you like healthy food, this is the place to go. Go check it out down below. There's a link. And not only do you get...
That is if you're not able to grow it in your garden.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the bulk foods, like rice. And hey, if you're growing your own rice, please DM me or shoot me an email because I want to grow our own rice and wheat and all that kind of stuff too. But a lot of people rely on that bulk food, right? And this is a place to do it. Not only do you get 15% off, you also get entered to win some of their world-class canning jars as well. So check that out down below. Now we want to turn over the time to Nina and Liz. We're going to invite Liz and Nina up onto the stage here. Huge welcome. We're excited to have you a part of the Seed to Harvest Summit. So, are you guys, I just want to make sure that we can hear you guys. You guys on?
Oh, hello.
All right. Yeah, we hear you. Fantastic. So some people in the chat may know you all, especially Nina with the Dirt Academy. I think we've had some Dirt Academy fans, by the way, in the chat already. And
cool.
There is a whole new aspect of the Dirt Academy Kids that is coming out. And this is where I'm excited because Liz is actually connected to us through Luke. Liz is Luke's wonderful wife and power mom, and also Liz is a lifelong homeschooler herself, grows plants alongside and animals with Luke, bachelor's and master's degree in psychology. After years working in counseling and child welfare, she returned to raising her own 4 kids through homeschooling and managing a daily farm work alongside Luke. And actually, Luke, I'm going to invite you on because you would actually do a way better job at introducing your wife than I would. We are just so excited that we get to have this connection pulled into the Seed to Harvest Summit.
Well, I'm a huge fan of her. I think she's fantastic.
Me too.
So I'm in the other room and I'm kind of bogging down our internet. I think on my laptop, like it's struggling in like piecing and patching. So I don't even know if you can hear me, but
Yeah, you're clear.
Yeah, we hear you.
So there we go.
All right, awesome. And Nina is a mother of 2 and garden gal extraordinaire. You can find Nina and her kids wandering around their gardens, harvesting veggies into a toy stroller, leaning into the homeschooling lifestyle. And Nina's company, the Dirt Academy, installs custom garden living spaces and teaches people how to grow food at home. So when the Lord put Dirt Academy Kids on her heart, that dream became a reality very quickly. And after positive feedback from the TV show Farm to Table, which is really cool on the Design Network, the Shirleys realized how many people crave to learn the lost generational knowledge of growing food and being connected to God's creation in a meaningful way. And so the Shirleys and the Hammonds have connected together and produced Dirt Academy Kids. I'm sure you guys are going to share more about that. But I'm excited to hear just everything that you have to share about pulling kids into the garden, making it an awesome space for them. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks,
So
Paul.
Yeah, you bet. I'm going to pull up your slides, and we want to give you the stage. For those in the chat, feel free to ask questions. Like normal, we'll have Q&A at the end, and we'll come back on then. But hey, Liz, Nina, we'll pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It's so fun to be back with you. I've been with you a couple times, different Seed Time events. So always glad to connect. And I will say, my husband and I have known the Hammonds for years and years. I don't even know how long. I've known Luke, especially first. But anyway, this is not a new partnership, but it is really fun to get to be out in the world creating something. So yeah, Paul already kind of went through this, but that's my husband, Brendan. We've been married 11 years this week, and our little babies were just always outside making a mess. And I included the 2 pictures on the right side that you'll see on your screen. Those are in the same location on our farm here in Florida, about a year and a half apart. My last presentation here with you guys on Seed Time was about food forest in a subtropical and tropical climate. So where Brendan's throwing river in the air was a big area. We brought in soil and mulch to raise up a little bit. And then now we have like a Jumanji forest that you could easily get lost in. And that's Baby Shepherd with an avocado about a year ago. So yeah, I have the Dirt Academy. It's so fun to talk about growing food with you guys.
Yeah. And like Paul said, I have been a lifelong homeschooler. And I went to college looking for a way to help kids. I've always loved working with kids, even from when I was a kid. I'm the middle child of 8. And so just groups of kids is just my life. And so I got my bachelor's degree in developmental psychology and then went on and got my master's in industrial organizational psych. I worked in counseling with high needs caseload with lots of kids, and then transferred into child welfare and was an investigator for a little while. And so I've kind of had experience in both sides of the mental health system. And it's really fascinating to me coming back. I quit work as soon as my son was born, our first child. So that was 11 years ago. And it was super hard to do because I was climbing career ladders and enjoying helping other families, but I knew too much about kids. And I just kind of decided, you know what, with what I know the best thing for my children is for me to stay home. And that was a very difficult decision, but I've never regretted it. And over the last 10, 11 years, we've been farming. We started our first organic farm that same year after Lewis was born. And so I've been raising kids and food the entire time of my parenting journey. We also homeschool our kids. They're in 5th, 4th, 2nd, and preschool right now. So have a lot of things that we're juggling to make this work, but I'm very, very passionate about finding ways to make it work because I believe this is super, super important.
I can't hear you, Liz, so I'm going to log out.
Okay.
Can you click through to the next slide and we'll keep rolling? I'll be right back.
All right. Tech issues. All right. So I'm going to keep going. We're, whoa, hold on. Where's the slides? Nina left and now there's no slides.
I think they must have been loaded up on Nina's side.
On
So
Nina's
when she left, I think the slides disappeared.
Okay.
They should be back soon when she comes back.
Well, I can keep going on the topic. So sorry for you guys that are listening that there's no slides to go along. But the first thing that we believe at Dirt Academy Kids is that growing food matters. I think a lot of you guys would agree that we're kind of in a food crisis here in the United States. And it is very strange if any other creature went away from their connection to looking for food, they would die, right? And yet humans, especially here in our American culture, have totally separated themselves from the food system. And growing our own food isn't even part of culture anymore. You have to actually add it back in, and it's very difficult and challenging. And then you're trying to juggle all the other things of culture and try to grow food. And so we don't believe that that's the way it should be. We believe that this matters. And the food system, with as broken as it is only going to get worse. And that's going to impact our children. And so we are very passionate about growing food. And the second thing is that getting kids outside matters. And as someone who came from the career line of mental health, I've seen the trenches of mental health where you're trying to help people with dysfunction and disorder, anxiety and depression and all kinds of things. And everything's done indoors. You're learning new skills, but you're being taught them in an office. And about 30 to 40% of counseling is actually virtual now. And so there's no connection to anything nature. And yet there's studies coming out at the same time that are showing that 60 minutes spent outside can actually mitigate 50% of mental and emotional issues. So if I were to start a counseling service that literally just took people outside for 60 minutes, I would have guaranteed 50% improvement on their issues. And so I think that that's crazy. I think that we have totally underused in a lot of systems in education and as well as mental health, nature. And so we believe passionately in getting kids outside. And over the last several decades, 50% of unstructured outdoor playtime has been lost in how we have restructured the hours spent at school and traveling to and from, and then sports and everything that's done indoors. And it's not that any of those things are necessarily bad, but if you look at what's increasing at the same time, we've got screen time increasing, we've got the indoor play, and we also have childhood obesity and anxiety and depression. All these things are increasing together. And so we believe that getting kids outside is one of the ways we can help improve the stats and turn around where culture is headed.
And
I think we lost Nina for a second here again.
Okay.
Nina, we're waiting for you. We're sure you'll be back. Here she
hey,
is.
are you? I'm
Yeah,
so
we can hear you now.
guys. This farm internet is not good. I thought it would be.
One thing you can try, Nina, and it's not ideal because we all love to see your face, but if it gets really glitchy, you can try turning off your video, and sometimes that helps and we can just hear the audio. But why don't you try with the video, because it's always nicer that way too.
It seems to be working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we should be good. I'm happy to turn off the video though if it happens one more time. Thank you guys for your patience. But anyways, we believe gardening with kids is a worthy effort for us as the parents and the caregivers or the grandparents, the teachers, even if it's challenging. And gardening with kids can be fun if we embrace the opportunity of it and have a positive attitude. So Seed Time members are gurus in the garden. We want things a certain way, but we want to show you some tips, tools, and toys to help you in the garden with kids ages 0 to 18. And sometimes things are slower and messier with kids around than if we were having our like perfectly structured schedules. And we just believe being present with our kids is worth having a maybe less than perfect looking garden bed, but the value is there. So we broke it down per age because there are different details, and Liz is an expert, especially in some of these developmental stages. So let's start and we'll cruise through them.
Okay, so we're starting at the very beginning with infants, and the stage of development. This is following Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages, and it's fascinating to see because there's not many places where you see these stages paired with how to deal with kids in nature. And so we're going to combine that. The stage of development that infants are in is in trust versus mistrust. So the first thing they're trying to do is bond with a caregiver and figure out trust. And they're doing that through the provision of safety and security and connection. There's no verbal way that we can tell a baby, you can trust me. We do it with the relationship that we create with them. So keeping them in the garden, you want to keep them close to you. I always have mine in a stroller. As you can see, 5-day-old Ember out here in the greenhouse. And literally one of the first places that I'm so excited to bring a new baby, all the stress of labor and delivery and getting the new baby home. And I just want to go to my garden. It's the healthiest place for me. And all of the different stages along the way with, man, I've had so much postpartum anxiety and it got worse with every kid. And so the garden was definitely my saving grace. And that meant that it's the saving grace for the baby. And that's the other thing about gardening with infants is it's not necessarily that the gardening itself is impacting the infant, but being out in nature and being close to a caregiver who is calm and stable and has some peace, that is hugely important. And since gardening is such a positive experience for adults, in the baby stages, that's why they need parents and grandparents, caregivers who garden, and keeping them with you, talking to them while you're working. All of that keeps that connection when they're just infants laying in their stroller. Balance the time with them and time away. I was not very good at this. I kept them with me too much and I would get burned out and have to take breaks. So if you're a parent and you feel guilty, don't feel guilty for needing to take that space because it's good to miss your kids every once in a while. So that's gardening with babies.
And here's some of our favorite tips, tricks, and toys. If you're a parent, you know, strollers for walking through the garden, front carriers when they're really little before they have that neck stability, and then backpacks once they're a little bit bigger and they can kind of look over your shoulder into the garden beds and see what you're working on. The fans for consistent noise or calm music is really helpful. And then walkers with support once they're a little bit bigger. So you'll see that bottom picture is Shepherd when he was a baby. I would squat down next to the garden bed, and that's a broccoli head that was going to flower. And I leave those for the bees sometimes if I don't catch it in time. And he would stare at that and giggle, and he would swat at those bolting stems. And just, it was so sweet that he was getting a full sensory experience, basically all 5 senses if he was putting it in his mouth as well. And another thing for babies that we wanted to mention is that getting them in the sunshine out into the garden is really good for their circadian rhythm because at 4 months old, they're starting to figure out days versus nights. So as much as you can get them in that sunlight, it's really healthy in so many ways.
Yeah. And that continues to be an important need when babies are transitioning into crawlers. We broke this age up. We're still in the trust versus mistrust stage, 0 to 18 months. But once they hit about 6 months, we're starting to get some movement. So crawlers to they're pulling up and standing and walking. So your safety in the garden becomes a lot bigger, more important need. You're keeping an eye constantly on them as they're moving around and they're exploring with their senses. That's what babies do. That's what little ones do. And they need this exploration. So we need to find ways for them to do it safely. So providing stability also in routines is really important. Those circadian rhythms, the helpfulness of a garden space as opposed to sensory overstimulation through, let's say, a new cartoon that's got fast clicks just going from one scene to the next. That's overstimulation. That's not going to help with any of that. But bringing a baby outside where they can experience different sounds and they're touching different things and they have the sunlight, I used to do all of these things really intentionally before nap times. So if you get a baby out, if you can, in the morning before their morning nap and let them have that outside time, they tend to sleep better. That's what I found. And then I would do that same thing at lunchtime. We'd go out, and if we can, if it's warm, you picnic. If it's not, just going out for a quick walk even before nap time in the afternoon would again help with sleep. So that's a really helpful tip. That's not just about gardening. But developing security through communication that gets a response is really important to not delay. So if you have a baby that's in the garden with you and they cry or they call for help, make sure you're right there immediately, partly because of safety and partly because every interaction and every time they are asking for something, and when they're young, it's crying, as annoying as it is, that's their communication. They need to get a response to know that their communication works, that they are being heard. Sensory experiences are very crucial, as we talked about. Here's Ember at 14 months sitting in her walker, and it was hot. And so as you can see, I've got a just mom hack. I grabbed the bottom of a big flower pot and put water in it and stuck it under there so she could splash her little feet in it and get that sensory experience and stay cool as she was sitting in the garden while we worked.
So fun. Here's some more pictures and ideas. Walkers are so good, and that bottom of their foot is so sensory for them. They're learning a lot through both of their hands and their feet. Kiddie pools are great, outdoor blankets, baby fences and gates. I learned a lot about that with my son, who is more like wild animal. And then the combinations work best. However, you can do 2 of these at one time. It keeps them kind of going back and forth between those 2 activities rather than kind of wandering off on their own if they're starting to walk. I did black out his little booty. You can see on the picture on the right. I didn't want to put that on the internet, but it's very cute. So one of the things we do almost daily when it's warm outside right now is I give Shepherd the hose, and it's on the gentle shower spray, and I give River an umbrella. And the garden is their very favorite place in our home. We're outside more than we're inside, and it's really fun to when we walk out our front door, hear my 20-month-old now say, "Daba, daba," which means strawberry, in case you were wondering or couldn't understand that language. But as soon as we go outside, both kids want to go to the garden because we have fun in the garden. And even if it's a little bit messy, this age range is kind of chaotic in the garden. They're trying to eat dirt. They're trying to throw dirt everywhere. But you can see the transition from chaos to fascination in this age range pretty quickly. So I find that if we're consistent, then they really learn the routines really well.
Yeah, they do. And as they move ahead, we're getting into toddler stages. So now 18 months to 3 years, and our developmental stage shifts a little bit. So they've established some trust with a caregiver. Now they're moving into autonomy versus shame and doubt. And what autonomy means, of course, is I do it myself. Every toddler wants to learn how to do things on their own. And we need to set them up for success. I say that phrase a lot in a lot of ways. We're looking for opportunities that we can help them succeed in doing that in a safe way that's good for them. So when we say it's time to eat and they say I do it myself, we want to guide and help them eat. But if they refuse to eat, that's a different story. So there's a difference between I do it myself and I'm just being defiant. We still have to parent and set boundaries, but we want to find ways where they can succeed at doing it themselves. They're shifting from the primary need of affection, so a baby just needs to be held, to affirmation. They want to hear praise. They need to be told that they're doing a good job at things. And they need that reinforcement to be as positive as possible. That doesn't mean that we can never say anything negative, but we need to be careful in how. My issue is I talk too fast, so I speak before I think. And so sometimes the reaction of, oh, no, you just pulled the carrots out. Wait a minute, hold on. First, go back to what Nina was saying at the beginning on presence over perfection. We're going to have messes in a garden. So pausing that minute and going, okay, the kid was trying to help me weed. So I need to come in positive first with, oh, that's so great that you were able to get the roots. Good job. But you know what? Next time, let's leave these ones in and pull these out. And you use it as a teaching opportunity, even for an 18-month-old. That sounds like a lot of words, but they're paying attention to your tone and they're watching you guide them on how to do it. If you don't like the way they did it, you want to be ready to guide them to how to do it right instead of just saying no. because negative reinforcement causes shame. It makes them shut down. And even worse than that is a non-responsive parent. So if we don't react quick enough, or we're not there to respond, or they tell us something they did and we ignore them because we're busy, that's almost worse, because then it creates doubt. Do I even have enough significance to matter? And they'll stop trying. So really making sure that we remember in this stage that, as young and frustrating as they can be, that every interaction is an opportunity to reinforce positively, in the best way we can, a child who's trying to learn how to be more than a baby.
Awesome. So our tips, tricks, and toys for this section are shallow buckets, scoops, measuring spoons, cups. Think anything that they love playing with inside. Your garden is just another room of your home, and you can take some of those toys that are waterproof and weatherproof outside. Water tables, we're going to say that over and over. It's both of our favorites. And then just mentally for yourself, be prepared for setbacks, whether you have a diaper explosion or need to bring your little potty out with you for potty training. That's a really fun way to be outside and do some of that life skills learning outside. So you can teach them to help with the tasks that you're doing, with lots of praise when they do.
Absolutely. And then we move into early school age. So now we're transitioning again. They've established some autonomy, some I do it myself. Hopefully we've reinforced that in good ways and they figured it out. But now we're moving on. Instead of asking, what can I do myself? They're saying, I want to help. And this is really crucial that we don't shut that down. That when they want to help, we let them help. We want them to help. We need to create opportunities. My 3-year-old will come in now and say, Mom, make a job for me, because she wants so bad to just be a part of what I'm doing and to feel important. This gets more intense, I feel like, the more kids you have, because they're watching the older kids, the younger ones are watching the older ones. And so they feel less than when they watch the bigger kids get to do stuff they can't. And so really working at making space and making jobs for a 3-year-old constantly. Provide free play and ideas for them, because they need consistent boundaries and chances to help, but they also need to keep exploring with their senses and learn to create things on their own. So you don't want to give them too many specific ideas. You want to tell them what to do, but not how. General George Patton, one of my favorite military leaders, always said, tell people what to do, but don't tell them how. They'll surprise you with their ingenuity. And I think that's brilliant, because we want to see our children use their own brains and problem solve. We're not teaching them what to think. We're showing them how to do it, how to reason, how to problem solve. And the garden's a great location for that. And so giving them just simple things, it's amazing what acorns can become. I've watched acorns turn into herds of wild animals that are being chased by tiny little stick figures. It's incredible. But if you just give them a toy fire truck, for example, all that can be is a toy fire truck. So let nature be the place where they just use their own creative skills. On the I want to help, the other tip is use help me language when you have a defiant 3-year-old, because people say terrible 2s. Man, I think it's terrible 3s. I've had way more struggles with my 3-year-olds than my 2-year-olds. And it's because of this. They've already figured out what they can do themselves. And now they think that they get to boss everyone else around. They want to help with everything. And so when they're defiant, I put them in charge. Instead of go sit down, go sit over there, go to your room, I'm just isolating. I have them do a task. All right, you're kind of acting out right now. I need you to go do this, and giving them steps and tasks. And it often will just totally dissipate the conflict that they thought they had with me. And so, can you help me? Can you help me clean up? You just spilled all these beans because you weren't listening when I said, don't tip the container. Can you please be my helper? I need help cleaning them up. And then let them find creative ways to do it. And that really makes a big difference. That'll put a tantruming 3-year-old on your team instead of opposing you. So positive reinforcement, again, we're trying to teach obedience, but the relationship and keeping that bond with the child is so important along the way. So as positive as we can be, it stabilizes us as well as the child. Okay, Nina, are you here? Oh, she may have cut out again. All right, so we're going to move on to tips and tricks for 3 and 5-year-olds. Keep engaging the senses. Kids stay focused longer when there's multiple senses activated, and nature does this naturally so well. So the garden then becomes a tool as much as anything else. Like when school's getting a little out of control for me with my little ones, it's the most relieving thing to, okay, it's garden block. It's time to go out to the garden. And then I can just kind of, I can relax. I can breathe a little. They reset themselves often in that natural setting. And so building in time, you may not be able to stay in the garden for 3 hours at a time with 3-year-olds, but man, you can build in several blocks throughout the day and it'll make your day and theirs go so much better. Keep using the water tables and the kiddie pools. It really helps. I don't want a grumpy, hot child in the garden. So always providing opportunity for them to cool off in the summer. I also use water as an incentive. So finish helping with this weeding and then you get to run through the sprinklers. Things like that can help as well. So those are tips and tricks for a 3 to 5-year-old. For elementary age, this is my favorite age group. And it might be partly because I have 3 kids that are in this stage right now, but I really loved working with this stage even before I had kids. And the stage is called industry versus inferiority, which those are just big words for saying that these kids need opportunities to figure out what they're good at. That's the question they're asking. What do I do well? They want to know how they compare, and they're constantly comparing. And it's a little sad how much they compare with their peers, with their siblings, with even adults. They're constantly looking for, how do I compare? What can I do well? And so they need a lot of love shown through the time we spend catching them being good and pointing out what they're good at, especially when they don't see it. The magic moments, they're few and far between when you catch something that they did naturally that is super cool and shows a strength that they didn't know they had. And looking for those opportunities while you're in the garden is just awesome. It's super fun to see these kids start to develop some confidence. Provide the opportunity for them to master new skills. Let them kind of branch out a little bit. You want to teach them the basics of using a tool so they use it right, and then let them kind of go off on their own so that they can look at a job that they've done by themselves and be proud of it instead of always doing everything with them. Give them a little more self-starting. And try to decrease comparisons by celebrating differences, because this, especially with peers, they tend to always, if they can't do something as well as someone else, then they feel deflated. And so you need to help emphasize the positives for each individual.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. I can. You good?
Yeah,
Nina?
I'm here.
Okay.
All right. Just cut me off, Liss, if you can't hear me, and I'll mute
Okay.
myself. But I wanted to mention for everybody listening too, that if you are curious about a list of these, it's easy to print out. We made a file with some of these ideas per age group, and we can email that to you guys totally for free. So at the end, I'll put the link for you to be able to get that. It's just a fun chart that as your kids grow up or your grandkids grow up, we have a lot more ideas than just what we've included here, just for some more inspiration. So the main focus for 6 to 11-year-olds is to prioritize and leave room for free play. Their imagination, when you give them space outside, is incredible. Like what Liss was saying, they can build a whole world with rocks and sticks, and building competencies, asking, what am I good at? Like they will gravitate towards the things that they are most curious about and that they feel the most competent at. Social comparisons and fear of failure provide lots of need for speaking life into their sense of self. And this is a great place to speak that encouragement and excitement over the things that you're successful at doing together in the garden. So point out how they're succeeding in their own way, pick them up, and encourage them when it doesn't go well. So my 5-year-old found an old packet of watermelon seeds in my desk, and I was doing dishes or doing something with the baby, and she said, "Can I plant these?" I was like, "Sure." So I had no expectations that these watermelon seeds would grow. Like, these seeds are old. I don't even remember where I got them, but she wanted something to do, and I could see her out the window in the garden by the house. And she planted them by herself, watered them, watched them grow, and we got 5 full-size watermelons from these crazy vines and these resilient seeds. I really need to save the seeds from these watermelons that we just grew, because they're very strong in our Florida heat. So anyway, you never know when you give a child in this age range the freedom what they're going to discover all by themselves.
Okay. So tips and tricks for this age. They're transitioning from toys to tools. So like I mentioned before, you want to help them learn how to use tools, and the pride that they will take in being able to operate any tool, even if it's just a shovel at the beginning, or how to push a wheelbarrow. Make sure you're reinforcing that. Great job. Well done. Train them to use the tools correctly. And it should be kind of a rite of passage. Like, you should be celebrating with them that you figured out how to do this. And it's a good chance for them to earn your trust as well, because they're creating more responsibility in their lives. Like, we taught Lewis to drive a quad just around our farm pretty early on, and he has shown a lot of responsibility and been able to pull our chicken tractor forward with the quad at 7 years old, going very slowly, and figure out how to hook it up and how to go slowly and not run over the chickens. And it's a lot of responsibility, but it's been so helpful for him. So allowing them to learn at their own pace. Our daughter Finley has a lot of anxiety around things like that, and I didn't want to set her up to fail by trying to push that same thing on her just because Lewis learned it at 7. If she would have hit a chicken, it would have devastated her. And so knowing your kids and knowing which kids are ready for what kinds of tasks is really important. But Finley at 7 was, unlike Lewis, very responsible with the babies and could be trusted to help just sit next to the 3-year-old or the baby and be there and support them, and is very loyal in that way. And so they all have their strengths. Finding them and pouring into those strengths and encouraging them to use them is what's important. Water's still their best toy though, and they love having opportunities to earn things. They're starting to get into that. And so running through the sprinklers at the end of a task, bringing a bunch of water balloons that I would have in a bucket, but they can't use them until they finish their task. Those are good ways to motivate this age group.
Some more tips, tricks, and tools for this age group. So fun to use the point system. So Liz and I were talking earlier, we're like, the kids don't want 1 point for anything. They want 100 points. They want 1,000 points. So building in garden tasks that they can earn points for and have a reward system is a really good way to be intentional and encouraging them in the garden. So you'll see some pictures here. These are both on Luke and Liss's farm, and ways that the kids were able to be involved and feel that independence that you guys can totally emulate in a way that fits your garden and your community.
Okay. And building competency is not about doing it right every time. Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." And that's not supposed to be a narcissistic statement that someone's refusing to lose. It's just the idea that we can turn every failure into an opportunity to learn. Successes help build the competencies, and so do failures. So on the left, these 2 pictures are of my son, Lewis. And like I told you, he has been tasked with taking care of the chickens. He's been doing that since he was little. And we never told him, you need to make friends with a rooster. But on his own, he had one rooster in our batch of chickens that had a lame leg. And so just that rooster being a little bit quirky drew his attention, and he wanted to help it. And so he sat out there for hours and hours every day, consistently over time. He didn't sit for hours in one day in one sitting, but just every day, the consistency. He made friends with that rooster, and he named him Big Roo. And that rooster trusted him, and he could go out and pick him up. And if he took his friends with him, that rooster will attack his friends. So it was always a little bit funny to watch the kids get overconfident because Lewis can do it and they thought they could, but he was the one who put in the time. So that was a success of him building a competency because he consistently did something. But we made the mistake of leaving Big Roo's brother, Stuart, out in the field because he kind of stayed off to himself. We thought it would be fine. He was an aggressive rooster, as some of them are. But it seemed like it was okay because we had enough order and structure. But you always have to prepare for when kids don't remember the rules or something goes wrong. And little 4-year-old Aslan, who's pictured there with the little hat on, decided she was trying to get to the field, and I was in the house with the baby. Luke was up at the top planting because our garden is a 1/4 mile from our house. And she, for whatever reason, decided to walk through the field that had the sheep and the chickens in it. And she didn't go around on the road. She went through the gate, closed it behind her, and walked straight through the field. The ram never bothered her, thankfully, but she got to the end, and Stuart attacked her, came up behind and just jumped on her back. And she screamed, and I ran out the door. Before I could make it, Luke was over the fence, and that was its last day on earth. And it was a failure. But sweet Aslan, we got to our school time on Friday where we do a journal every week and talk about our week. And she dictated this. This is what she wanted to write. I got attacked by Stuart, so Dad wrung his neck. Daddy saved my life. And she talked about it for weeks, not as a terrifying story, but as a Daddy saved my life. That's what she remembered. She had a little cut on her back and it was scary. But what she remembered was that Daddy came to her rescue. Daddy was there and Daddy took care of it. And so we can't predict everything. We can't control everything, but we can definitely learn from everything. We did not keep another rooster that was aggressive out in the field. And Aslan now knows to walk around, not through, but we all learned something that day. But the beautiful thing was that sometimes it'll be learned in a way with a result that you could never imagine. And that story is now a treasure instead of just a failure. So keep building the competencies even when you have setbacks.
Good job, Luke, saving the day.
Okay, so now we're on to junior high and high school. And now we're getting out of building competencies and asking, what am I good at, to asking, who am I? This is a scary one for parents and grandparents, everybody involved in raising children. It's also scary for the kids. And sometimes I think we forget that. We watch kids that we think are acting out by trying on these personas and identities, but they're all seeking to figure out who they are. And this is an important stage. And I like to think of it this way. You know how when you're driving down the road and you've got the white line on the side of the road, and then if you're lucky, you have a giant shoulder of the road on the other side of the white line that if something goes wrong with your car, you can cross that white line, get into that space until you can figure out how to get back on the road. Where I'm from, we don't have that at all. There's a white line and then there's a ditch. So there's no grace there. And unfortunately, I think with teenagers, sometimes we operate that way. We put lines and we think kids need to be in the lines. And so if they go out at all, we don't have any grace for them. We need to leave lots of room. It's just a white line when they're a teenager. Let it be a white line while they figure out and ask questions about who they are and what they're trying to become and who they're trying to become. Because we're not going to help them by shutting things down or not letting them ask questions. And we also have to remember that part of the reason they're asking so many questions, and some of their questions can be offensive because they're questioning things that we believe in, but they're just getting their frontal lobe development. Their cortex at the top of their brain, they didn't have that a couple of years ago. They're developing it and it has to be exercised. So they're using those thinking abilities that are growing. So let them ask questions and reason. Don't try to answer all their questions. If you don't know the answer, or if it's not a simple answer question, let it linger and work it out with them. Ask more questions to their questions instead of just trying to give a direct answer. And the reason I'm talking so much about conversation is because it's hard to get a good conversation with a teenager sometimes. And the garden is one of the best places to foster it because it can happen organically. It can happen naturally. You go out, you grow, you plan projects with goals and dates. And while you're there, you take advantage of the time while you're working alongside kids and ask questions and have those interactions. Be their best cheerleader as they're trying new things. The garden is also a place where they can try new skills. It's a great opportunity for letting them learn to teach others. So if you have a kid that's been gardening for years, as they enter into 12 and 13, find ways that they can teach other skills they've learned. Invite a homeschool group out, invite some of their friends, invite a church group, get some other people out there. If your child is passionate about growing strawberries, for example, bring some kids out and let your kid teach them how to grow strawberries. Let them talk through that process because teaching reinforces things we've learned. It also builds confidence. It gives practice at speaking skills. There's tons of resume building that can happen in the garden. And so this is a really great opportunity to have good conversations and to grow passion points that you've already seen in your child.
Our tips, tricks, and tools for this age range is the next level of everything that we've talked about before. So helping them safely master the use of tools with motors and even some of those sharper tools like sharper pruners and harvesting knives, things like that. We want to communicate clear expectations for how they can maintain the garden without being micromanaged. So the pictures that you're seeing with some of these older kids are from a community garden that I built several years ago, and then worked with these kids every week doing a curriculum, not the curriculum that we've created recently, but one that I did that was much more simple several years ago. And it was so much fun to see these kids wait at the door for their turn to come out to the garden for their class. They were thrilled. They would fight over being the garden president for the week. Like, they each wanted to take a turn watering, checking to see if the seeds that we planted had sprouted. So it's really fun at this age to blast the music. You can have a dance party in the middle of the garden. They are thrilled about eating fresh fruits and veggies that they would probably never eat if they didn't grow it themselves. Like, these kids were eating carrot tops and raw parsley and all these varieties that they had never seen or heard of before. And I had such a good time learning each one's favorite part of gardening. So some kids I could trust to plant the transplants by themselves and water them in. Some kids really wanted to be doing maintenance around the garden, like restaining the outside of the beds or using the leaf blower. And so it was a privilege for them to gain my trust from scratch, because I didn't know them before we started the class. But as an adult in their life, getting to know their stories and gaining each other's trust, that when I would hand them a knife or a pair of scissors, that was a huge, huge deal for these kids in their community, because I don't think that they had been trusted in some of these ways before. And so it was just a really cool experience seeing this age group come alive in the garden. There were very few kids that had been gardening growing up. I did not garden growing up. I remember planting flowers with my grandma a few times, but I was in the same knowledge base that these kids were at the same age. And I remember my first few exposures, like when I was a teenager, of seeing plants grow was really special. Mm-hmm. This is a packing list that we will include in the slide deck. Everyone who is purchasing the replays for the summit gets all of the slide decks, so you guys can just kind of get some more ideas of fun ways to spend more time in the garden. Because for me, with my kids' ages, if I go outside with nothing, we don't last long.
Yep.
We need snacks.
Gotta have
things.
Yeah, the gear bag, and the gear bag changes as they get older, but keep the gear bag and some sort of first aid, particularly with bee sting aid, especially if you have kids that are allergic to bees. But you want to have that kind of stuff close on hand, so that you don't have to end your garden time just because of a bee sting or a little scrape. So that should be helpful.
Definitely. We believe the solution to getting kids outside and teaching them to grow food happens one at a time, one step, one kid, one caregiver. And we built something to help you, no matter if you're a parent or a grandparent or a teacher. We have written 30 gardening lessons for kids. So we have a textbook that's in my hands, but I am not going to risk messing this technology up right now. I am a gardener, not a technological wizard. But anyways, we have a beautiful hardcover textbook and a kindergarten through second grade workbook, a third through fifth grade workbook, 30 video lessons, and then we are doing live group coaching calls, all with Dirt Academy kids. So here is our bundle, and our books are at the printer right now, so we're on pre-order. That if you open up that top hardcover textbook, you'll see some beautiful lessons. So we range everything from designing and dreaming up your garden to actually building it, to the science concepts that go into building organic matter and photosynthesis and water, both the water cycle in earth science and the plant water cycle inside of your garden. We also go through techniques like pruning and trellising, and everything is illustrated by my dear friend Rachel here in South Florida. We appreciate AI for certain things, but we are such a homegrown, homemade sort of mentality with Dirt Academy kids that we want to be hands in the dirt, full on, homemade organic experience. So everything about these books is handwritten and hand illustrated. This is an example of the K through second grade workbook. So you guys know, the left-hand page is always meant to be a more academic focus where kids are learning the vocabulary and the concepts. The right-hand page of each lesson workbook page set is meant to be taken outside, into nature, into your garden, that the kids will get the most out of it if they can be outdoors. This is an example of the higher grade level workbook, and we're working on middle school next in a preschool activity book. We have so many plans, you guys. This is Liss in one of the videos. She did such a good job in front of the camera. We filmed for 5 or 6 days creating these lessons. You can read through a few of them if you're curious, but we do the teaching for you. You guys are already gardeners. You know the value of all these topics and incorporating them into our kids in this next generation so that they know how to grow their own food. But for some of these topics, we have really figured out how to simplify them enough to make them palatable for these age kids while still teaching the important core concepts that make gardening make sense. This is our 2026 live group coaching calendar. We are committed to helping every step of the way. So our Dart Academy Kids team will be answering questions in group calls. We really hope that this is a fun community. So our books are at the printer. We will ship them out late February, early March, and start the calls right away so that as you're starting your spring gardens with your kids, we can have these fun, engaging calls with giveaways and things like that to help you out. So right now, since we just launched, we are a brand new company with this set of products, and we believe the best way to work together is through all of the resources that we've created. So the bundle with the textbook, a workbook of either level that you choose at checkout, our coaching and the videos, all of that is $197, which is an incredible discount. But also on our website, if you only want the books and you want to go tech free and be garden, you can read the textbook, and that gives you everything as far as teaching your kids. So you're independent either way, but we have different options for you on our website. This is the free downloadable that we want to send you guys if you want to see the content that we've talked about today, all in one chart. So it has all the different age groups. And if you go to our resources page at the bottom, you can click there, put your email in, and we will send it to you when we're done with this talk in a little while.
All right. So it's $197 is all for that first, the first 500 people. So get it while that deal lasts, because that is a really good deal for everything that we've included. So the summary, what we do is our goal is to support you, to support the caregivers who are taking care of kids, to not just get another resource, because there's so much homeschooling curriculum out there. As a homeschool mom, I know it's overwhelming when you're trying to look for something new. We don't want people to just purchase and not finish. We want everybody to be able to finish the 30 lessons, because what that means to us is that you gardened. And that's what we want. We want to build new gardeners, not just new gardens. We want people in communities to be spreading their love of gardening, because we know that one at a time, we really can change the food system. We can change the next generation. And so that's why we put in the coaching, the ability to walk alongside you. We don't even have the content for all those sessions planned, because we're letting our customers guide that content. So whoever signs up for that, as people are getting into that group, then we'll figure out what we need to talk about, because we want you to ask your questions along the way and let your kids feel like they're being supported. Because the other thing, particularly if you're a homeschool person doing this or a grandparent, you're kind of on your own. You feel isolated trying to teach this. And so having a place where you can bring your questions and your successes is really important. So that's why we put that coaching and consulting together, and we'll help you troubleshoot everything from plant diseases to how to make a schedule that allows you to garden. I know that's one of the biggest challenges. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. It's not just about selling homeschool curriculum. We create a curriculum from our own experience in life. we're very passionate about this. And that's what we want to share with you guys, is that passion. And hopefully you will find your own way to bring your kids outside and into the garden.
Here's some references so you guys can see if you have the slides. And we appreciate you a ton. We're so glad to chat with you. And I believe we're going to start some Q&A with Paul. There you are.
And
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank
Nina
you.
and Liss. That
Thank
was
you.
your passion came through loud and clear, and I
Oh,
think
good.
it's ignited passion in those of us who were listening. I know I really appreciated this a lot.
Yeah, I saw someone in there that said this was their favorite session. So
Yeah,
that was,
No way. That's awesome. Very cool.
yeah. So to start off with the questions, I want to bring up one that Alana Hirsch is asking, and I know as a father and a grandfather, I relate to it. We really struggle with my 12 and 15-year-old daughter's attitudes about anything that requires effort. Any suggestions?
That's very common. Just so you know, first off the bat, very common. Don't get discouraged, because that is that age group. But don't let that lack of care that they present fool you, because usually they're paying way more attention than you know. And so without being too forceful, because it's kind of like dealing with a baby deer when you're trying to get them to do something. You don't want to be too forceful and make, this is what we're doing, we have to do it. But helping plan, creating a plan, starting with here's what we're going to do, and make it a requirement of some level. If you're homeschooling, or if you have some sort of way that you can incentivize, start there. You know, this is part of our curriculum for this spring, or that if we can build this garden and accomplish this plan, then there'll be a trip that we can take, and let them kind of help guide the incentive for that. That can be a way to kind of get them eased into it, because what will happen is a snowball effect. That once you start doing it, it may be like pulling teeth to get those first few times, and you may have to start with an incentive. You may have to plan a trip at the end of the summer to incentivize them. But as they get into it, they will hopefully just catch the bug, like we all have. It happens. It doesn't matter your age. When you get out and you start seeing things growing, like Nina's example with the watermelons, that watermelons are fun to grow because every day you can go out and see the progress. And even a 15-year-old is going to get sucked into that. And so don't get discouraged. Be creative and try to brainstorm with them. When you can plan with them and try to get their input, then you might have better luck at getting the ball rolling. And once you get them out there, nature will do its work, and they'll start to love it, is my hope and plan for my kids. And so I hope it works for yours as well. But great question, because that is a hard age group to get in the garden.
yeah, awesome. Sarah says, do you have any resources for middle school and high school age kids?
Not yet, but it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I will.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
I was just going to say, middle school, you can, the 3rd to 5th grade workbook has a lot. We kind of taught up a little in that. So the workbook pages for that one are going to be usable for a 6th and 7th grader for sure. So you can use that for now, but go ahead, Nina.
I was going to say too, my mother-in-law was staying with us, and my father-in-law, she saw the printed book for the first time when we were sitting at the kitchen table the other day. And she said, Nina, this could be for adults. And I know she's watching right now too. But really, even just the crop pages in the book, we picked the 30 most common crops to grow, and we literally called them at the top Farmer Luke's crops, because he put everything he knows about each of these vegetables and fruits. So yeah, I think the higher age level that we have, the 3rd through 5th grade, older kids would still really enjoy a lot of the activities. And some of the activities have no age at all, and they are repeats within the book. Like, some of the workbook pages are any age 0 to 100, I would say. So
Absolutely. Yep.
Actually, since you brought that up, a couple of the questions were around that. That one was saying, I wonder if these techniques will work for adults. And another one said, I wonder too, it might help my adult son who is autistic.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's life. We get off course and we all have to regrow ourselves kind of every day sometimes. So absolutely. The techniques and getting out in the garden, it helps me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this has been a great review for myself with my little kids. I'm like, yeah, I need to be doing that. I love it. Fantastic. All right. We are on the hour here, but there were a couple of comments here that were just very uplifting as well. Carol here says, every session's been so wonderful, but this makes my heart smile. So wish I had known these things when my kids were growing up. You all are bright lights. Just really appreciate that. And one more, Sarah here says, I'm 40. My son is 14 and daughter is 12. We were a military family for many years. It's hard not to fall into comparison between myself, what we did and what we wish we would have done. I'm very thankful for this encouragement and the strategies. And so just wanted to pass those on to both of you, not just from us, but from the whole community. A huge thank you for sharing this with everyone. And do you all have any, Dad?
Well, I guess you've shared it. Brittany said, I can't thank you enough for this session. Where can I follow you both?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So
Very
that
sweet.
would be, I'll put the link right back
Yeah.
up here so that people can go over to dirtacademykids.com. Do you all have any last words you'd like to share with everyone as we close up?
I would say our heart is to really help you guys. And Brendan and I have had the Dirt Academy for 9 years or so. So we've worked with a lot of people growing food, and Luke and Liss have been working with people for at least that long or longer. So if you decide to purchase the books or become part of our community, that is incredible. We thank you so much. And the goal, like Liss was saying, is that we really get to know you and can help you along the way. The books are basically just the tool to this agricultural lifestyle that we really believe the world needs more of.
Yep. And it's not easy. It's simple, but most things that are simple are not easy. So be encouraged as you start. If you're all motivated right now, it will be hard. It will be challenging. And there will be days that you bring them back in because you took everybody out to garden and you didn't get anything done and you just feel discouraged. That is very normal. And that's the other reason we want to walk alongside you, is because we need to normalize hard lives. We need to normalize that things we're doing are challenging. And it's hard to normalize it when we're all isolated in our own little worlds. My boss in mental health used to call it the disorder of uniqueness. That when we all feel like everybody else is succeeding and we're not, or why are we struggling so hard with this when no one else is? That's a lie. It's a lie. And so you need other people to go, yeah, this is hard. And yeah, we had a lot of failures. And it's been super encouraging for me personally, because I had no idea when I started doing this with Luke, when we started farming together, that we would get a chance to share our experience and encourage other people. And so the pictures I've taken and what I shared with you today was just us doing life. And to know that that can be an encouragement to someone else later is really blessing my heart. And you guys will have your own stories like that as you do the hard work and get in and just start somewhere. So we're really excited for you guys as you take your next step with your kids and just keep growing. However hard, however slow, just keep growing.
I love it. Thank you so much to both of you. You blessed us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you guys.
All right. Now, actually, you know what? I'm going to keep you on stage real quick because we almost forget this at the end, is like multiple times. But we wanted to do a giveaway, and you all mentioned that you guys would be willing to do a giveaway of the bundle. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So let's do it. What we're going to do is type in the chat, kids, if you would like to enter for a giveaway to get one of the homeschool bundles. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of these myself. So type in the chat, kids, if you would like to get one, and we'll do a giveaway very shortly here with that. So let me see if we can take one more question while those are coming in.
It's a good thing I didn't see the chat until now, because y'all are busy in the chat. There's so many good questions.
Yes. All right. By the way, Luke, I think that you were the hero of the session for saving your daughter from the rooster.
Definitely.
One person says, what about the dog that helps itself to my green beans? You might want to train your dog a little differently than your kids, maybe.
Yeah.
At least it's healthy for your dog.
It's true.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. We have a good number. Hey, Luke, saw you pop in.
I'll just say, bring up one question was on there. Someone was asking where you did your community garden.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're in Palm Beach County, Florida. It's I think it would be okay for me to say the name of it, but since I showed pictures of the kids, you can email me at nina@thedirtacademy.com if you're interested. I can give you more information.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's always better to be safe that way. Appreciate it.
I was just going to say there are very few things like seeing your daughter getting continually spurred in the back by a rooster as she's crying, running across a field, and you've got a barbed wire fence that's 8 feet tall between you and her. And I went through the barbed wire fence, grabbed her in one arm, and then chased after the rooster, and it was quite the event.
I love that.
And then I got really sick, and it was what a day.
You were already sick.
Like what?
I was already sick, so I had
He
the
was
flu.
already sick. He had the flu. It was out working, and then he did that, so then he was sicker. But
Oh, man.
it was
So-
But
worth
you
it.
saved your girl, man.
He did,
Yeah.
and she never forgot. She told
And you
everyone,
got-
"Daddy saved my life."
Love
And you
that.
got tetanus too while you're at it.
Yeah. All right, let's do this drawing here. 3, 2, 1. Let's see who's going to win a bundle.
This is
of
fun.
Dirty Academy Kids. And the winner is
Damn.
Dina. Congratulations,
Awesome.
Dina Graham.
Whoop, whoop.
Huge
That's so
congratulations.
fun.
Congratulations.
Please email support@seedtime.us. That's support@seedtime.us. We'll get you connected over with Nina and Liz, and we'll get that bundle to you. So, all right. Once again, thank you, Nina, Liz. Till next time, we're very excited about what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for this session. We are getting ready to gear up for our last session. The last session is the grand finale. I'm going to show you a very, very short little demo. And then really the grand finale is going to be, we've got a surprise that I'm going to show you on the grand finale. So you're not going to want to miss this next session on the hour. But very, very briefly, for those of you who have a Seed Time account, if you don't have one, go grab a free Seed Time account. But one of the recent things that we recently released this last year was inventory tracking. So on top of being able to map out your garden throughout the season, see all of your plantings, which by the way, this is one of the benefits of having a software tool like this is it can take away the stress and the overwhelm off of yourself. So you're just following a checklist like we were talking about earlier through the season. And it can give you more presence with your kids when you're out in the garden. So instead of like spending, we had one user who was just in tears because she said, you gave me back time with my mom. Like she was spending so much time trying to figure out how to do this garden that she didn't have time to spend with her mom who was elderly. I know that's the flip side, but the same thing can happen with your kids. You can be spending so much time on the computer trying to figure it all out that you don't have the time to actually get your hands in the dirt. And that's one of the things that is our desire with Seed Time, is to make a tool that actually frees you up to spend more time with your hands in the dirt, more time with your kids, etc.
Yeah, more time, more ability to be present to your kids because you're not trying to figure out what do I do next.
Right,
How do I do
exactly.
that? Yeah.
So we talked about the calendar. We talked about how you can build a layout of your garden and lay out all of your plantings, the task list, the journal. Just wanted to highlight very briefly, and this is a newer release just this last year, was inventory tracking. It was one of the biggest things we've had people ask for, and we did it. So we created an inventory tracker in Seed Time where now you can put in really anything. You can categorize it, your fertilizers, your amendments, your seed packets. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking along the seed lines. You can put in what variety they are, You can connect them with tasks in your task list. So as you're going through your tasks, you can automatically deduct from the inventory just right there in the task list. And it will just keep your inventory updated. You can put in the expiration date so you can see when things, expire by and what you should probably, get new stuff for. The units available, where they were purchased at. So you have quick links back to go to where you purchased that. It's just a great way to keep track of what you have on hand in your garden, what you need to purchase, and stay more organized. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do is help you be more organized in your garden, giving you the clarity and ultimately the confidence to grow your own food. So if you would like access to the inventory planner, that is on the upgraded level of Seed Time. So you want to grab the Spring Garden Success Kit at seedtime.us/kit. And you can jump in there for just $99, or you can get the whole lifetime bundle and you'll get access to all of that in the kit there. All right. Once again, you're not going to want to miss this next session. It's going to be our grand finale. We have a great session coming up with Robert Palvis. And he's Pavlis, and he's going to be sharing about getting started without breaking the bank in your garden. And then afterwards, we're going to have a little bit of a longer time because it's the last one, and we're going to do a special surprise reveal to you all. It's a new feature that's coming in Seed Time and that we have not shown anyone yet. So that's going to be really fun. And then we'll wrap it up, and that will be the end of this session. But it's not the end of Seed Time. It's not the end of your experience with us. There's so many ways that you can continue to connect with us. The Success Kit is obviously one of those, because we'll have a live implementation workshop coming up that you can be a part of. But we do other trainings. You can stay on our email list. You can grab your Seed Time account. And at the end of the day, we want to create tools that make gardening easier for you. So let's take a break, and we'll come back on the hour for our last grand finale of the Seed to Harvest Summit. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you shortly.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
As has been said, a man who has his health has 100 goals. A man who does not have his health only has one goal. And I want to make the world a better place so that we have millions of people that have 100 positive goals. We can make our world a healthy place. We live in a world of abundance. We do not have to be living in scarcity if we take care of our resources correctly. By producing super nutrient-dense food, our bodies are full of minerals and healthy vitamins and enzymes and everything that it takes to have good, healthy life. By living a healthy lifestyle, our communities become stronger, our families become stronger, and we have a more healthy culture.